So right now, honestly, how many of you care about contrasting the difference between secularism and postmodernism? I mean, probably not, really. I mean, the technicalities of the two worldview, I mean, is probably not going to jump out to you if I really want to learn that. And I get that. And so I want to kind of explain to you my process of going through high school speech and debate, because I knew I wanted to sign up to learn how to debate. And I got to class, and they started talking about concepts of how to argue, how to discuss, things like that. I'm like, okay, this is cool. And then a couple weeks in, they started talking about all these technicalities, all the rules of the game of debate. And I remember being frustrated, like, I don't care about the 4 stock issues of a good affirmative case. I don't care about the order of speakers. I just want to learn how to debate well. And so through all of that, I learned that eventually, after learning some of the stuff that seemed, kind of technical, like comparing the difference between secularism and postmodernism, that at the end, I had to learn a couple rules that don't apply to the rest of my life, but a lot of what I thought didn't actually did. And so through all of that, which some of it seemed a little bit technical or pointless, I learned a lot more than I ever thought I would. And so I will say definitely comparing and contrasting the difference between those worldviews might not sound that exciting. But these questions up here are more the kind of things that you'll be dealing with in life. You'll have friends ask questions like this, stuff like that. So some of that looks a little bit technical, but like some of the rules of speech and debate that I had no interest in learning. So I would just encourage you that even though some of that doesn't look super fun, being able to answer these kind of questions will make a big difference.
Life is about ideas. Ideas have consequences. Passed on from teacher to disciple, from handwritten manuscript to mass-produced book, from inspirational speeches to top 40s music. Ideas have spread across the globe much like a pandemic. They surround us every single day. Let's go through an overview of each one individually. The secular worldview says the problem is God. Secularists don't ask what God wants. When Darwin published his Origin of Species, the idea that we are no more than animals following our instincts caught on. The new spirituality worldview says the problem is that we don't realize we are God. New spiritualists believe the core of reality is a higher consciousness, and that tapping into it will attract everything we want. We can trace this train of thought to ancient Buddhism and Hinduism. The postmodern worldview says the problem is our obsession with truth. This virus says that the search for meaning is fruitless. Capital T truth does not exist. There is only lowercase t truth that we create for ourselves. The Marxist worldview says the problem is the rich. Karl Marx wrote that the working class has been exploited by the rich. When the exploiters are overthrown, a new society will emerge. The Islamic worldview says the problem is rebellion against Allah. We are all born Muslims, but our rebellion must be conquered into submission to Allah. Each of these worldviews tries to answer life's biggest questions. Am I loved? Why do I hurt? Is there meaning to life? Why can't we all get along? And is there any hope for the world? Ultimately, they're asking, is God even relevant in answering these questions? The Christian worldview responds to all of these. It says the problem is life without God. It's about the simple premise that through Christ, we can more clearly understand God and everything else. Jesus said, I am the way and the truth and the life. The grace that he offers gives us the proper perspective on life and how the world operates. Prepare to have your mind and your view of the world expanded in this study.
Just because you don't have a religion doesn't mean you don't have a worldview. Everybody's got some sort of set of beliefs. And if you can figure out kind of why they are where they are and why they're there, then you can kind of get to the root of a lot of those deeper questions a lot quicker. So a worldview does basically two things. It tells you what you believe, what you should do, right? And it also tells you what the world is what it should be, how you should get there, right? So what you should do and what you should think others should do. So it's a set of beliefs that tell you what the current problem is with the world and what steps to take to achieve the perfect world or society. So if all of these things are a mixture and a combobulation, 6 buckets would be hard enough. So then you put them all mixed up together, then how do you even figure out who's where and what's what? And then what they've outlined for the curriculum is these 4. You identify the symptoms of a bad idea, isolate the bad from the good, inform others about bad ideas, and invest in those controlled by bad ideas. So first of all, identifying the symptoms of a bad idea. That's where some of the technicalities of comparing those 6 are going to come in. When someone says, hey, I'm glad you found that, that's great for you, I'm going to go do this thing and that's right for me, having this discussion with someone, you can right away identify the symptoms of a bad idea. Okay, if they're talking about their right way is over there and my right way is over here, that's identifying, okay, they're kind of those kind of people that don't believe any truth exists, right? So you can kind of start to figure out and identify the symptoms of the bad idea. Isolate the bad from the good. Remember the yin-yang? Every worldview, because most people's worldviews are going to be mixed up. If you were solely 100% Orthodox Christian, you could maybe argue that you're never going to have a bad worldview idea, but I would dare you to find somebody who's the perfect Christian. So when you're talking about worldviews, ideas, beliefs, you're going to have to separate the bad from the good. And so that's where some of those buckets will help figure that out. Informing others about bad ideas, that's what this class will hopefully help you with, is when someone says, something that sounds really Marxist, we just need to get rid of all the rich people and just spread it out so that it's all equal. Well, what do you say to them? And then investing in those controlled by bad ideas, actually taking the time to discuss the 5-6 questions that he mentioned at the beginning, the big questions of life, and then taking the time to invest in those that are controlled by those ideas. A few weeks ago, my sister calls me. She was talking to some friends in college up in North Dakota about creation versus evolution. And she goes, he keeps telling me that science has proven that evolution is true. And he just keeps saying that over and over and over again. And I remembered that I had watched a lecture like 6 months ago where Frank Turek had said, if anybody ever tells you that science has proven evolution, tell them this. I was like, I know he said what to say, but I don't remember what he said, so I don't know what to tell you. So I went back in my notebook and I found just a couple sentences. It was like the 2 different kinds of science. This science proves what's going to come. This science guesses at what was in the past. And so it was just a couple sentences that helped to jog my memory of, okay, that's what you say when someone says science has proven that evolution is true. So that's what I'm looking for with the homework. I'm not going to ask for big, long essays or big, long presentations or anything like that, just so that, going through the books or the lectures or things like that, that you've got those kind of bullet point notes so that in 6 months, you're not going to remember everything you hear in 6 months, but whatever you write down and you hear a friend say something that just doesn't quite sound right, you're like, hey, that sounds like we talked about something about that in the middle of the class. And you can go back to your bullet points and just hopefully jog your memory. So that's what I'm going for with the homework. I really don't want to put a whole bunch on you guys just because that'd be crazy.